seeing that or just the whole deal?
I mean, I'm like everybody else in the shock of it all. Even after I'd heard about the situation days before it, I don't think any of us thought we'd see what we saw. And as an African American who has, watched for years, white officers do horrible things to, black people, I never thought I'd see what I saw from African American policemen doing what they did to a young man who seemed defenseless and terrified out of his mind. And it just never registered that that could happen, especially when you look at what has happened to black people in reference to that particular subject. And so I was, inundated with a lot of emotions, man, just thinking about my own boys, thinking about my relatives, thinking about different things that have happened, thinking about our players. And you just feel somewhat helpless in that it just doesn't seem to be an answer in sight to stop all this silliness. It's just tragic. You sit there and think about Tyree's mother having to, get that call, and then watching her at the first press conference. That's when I realized how serious it was. She couldn't even get through it. And you could sit here all day and just talk about the emotions, man. It's what is it going to take to stop all of this? We keep talking about police reform and funding and training, and it's I'm not even sure it's a police problem, man. It's just a humanity problem, man. We just do not respect each other the way that we should, whether it's policing or just folks walking down the street, man, just having a genuine respect for people and their life and their future and their families. It's just old, We just don't. We'll gloss over this and go right to the next thing, and that's the sad part about our society. We will just go right to the next thing. We've just dealt with, you name it, and a few days go by, a few weeks go by, a few sporting events go by, and then we forget. And then something like this happens, and then we're reminded of how jacked up we can be towards each other. And that's where my mind went. Like, man, how many of these has to happen before we just stop and respect one another, love one another, as opposed to this kind of stuff happening over and over again, man. I mean, imagine raising up young boys in this society and the fear that you have when they go out. Mark Bryan and I talked about it this morning. Like, you're scared to let your boys go out. You're scared to let them hang with certain people because of this kind of silliness. You just never know when it could be at your doorstep. And so that's my question. Like, when are we going to just stop with all this and just, show a genuine concern for human dignity and respect? And it's just not there. And you saw it. Those guys didn't even care. They talked about it was like they were at a gym afterwards just talking to each other. And I was like, what is going on with these guys, man? Like, this is crazy. And the other sad part was no one in that neighborhood came outside, which means it probably has gone on there before. It's like, what's going on, man? Like, this is crazy. No neighborhood should have to deal with that and think it's normal. And those guys sitting there talking about it like they're at the gym. It was crazy. And I'm probably like a lot of coaches and fathers and You know, you're just trying to figure out, like, man, what do I have to do to protect my family and my kids and the people I love and the people I don't even know? Because that's what it comes down to now. It's not about just the people you love. It's about society as a whole. Like, what do we have to do to protect each other and stop all this silliness? Because it's just old, man. Never thought I'd be dealing with this kind of stuff at 51. You know, I thought this was going to be an old issue. You know, even after Rodney King, I thought, like, okay, we can learn from this. We haven't learned one thing. Still doing it. Shameful. And shame on us, because we have not figured it out.
I know it's crazy even go from that to basketball.
Yeah, I don't really want to do that right now. So can we just respectfully just, like, cut this off? Because to talk about basketball right now, even though we have a game, like, that's just ridiculous. Because that's what we do. We just go right to sports and think like, oh, this is like, no, it's not. That's not the deal. We got to stop doing that. So I appreciate you doing that. Yep. Thanks.
Thank you.